so the next report that we're going to go over is the individual statistical report. This looks at each individual stock that looks at each individual stock and offers a wide range of information on that: pricing, volume, institutional investment, etc. So to access this, click on the search bar up here, and then goes to symbols and individual statistical report, and then you can type in whichever stock you want to look at. So for this example, we'll go with Tesla. There we go, and then we'll submit. And then from there, we'll look at the report. So you scroll up, and then you get the individual statistical report. Let me just kind of edit the screen here for ease of use. So then we'll get the individual statistical report. Tesla Inc. This is the individual report for that. So it starts with today's forecast. It looks at previous volume, current volume, the difference, the price, and then the conclusion, which offers an assessment on how we view that stock. Click on this information button to get that. From here, you get some recent news. This offers recent articles about the stock and the company, which you can read at your leisure. Then you have who has at least a 10% ownership for Tesla. In this case, it's Mr. Elon Musk, but there are some other cases where institutions or other stocks where a longer range of people own that. So it can be useful to look at that. Institution count. This looks at how many institutions are investing in a particular stock, and how that in the latest quarter, and how that has changed from the previous quarter. So then we have counts by status. So how many institutions and top 10 hedge funds and top 10 institutions are looking at something. So then we've got price history for Tesla. This looks at a wide range of pricing information, including current price, 52-week high, 52-week low, how it's, the rate of return over the last year, 5 years, etc. This is helpful for understanding where it is currently and and the context of that. Then you've got 10-day price details, which looks at wide range of pricing, like just basically the pricing and volume performance over the last 10 days. That can be helpful. So you have price, the difference, and the percentage of difference, and the same for volume as well over the last 10 days. Then we've got the 10-week moving average, which looks at basically similar to that, but over the last 10 weeks. So you have the average over previous week, and then the week to that, and then the week to that, and then how much that average has changed in dollars, and the range of it, and then the percentage of it, and then you have the average volume for that time. And then the 10-month moving average, similar to that, but it's 10 months instead of 10 weeks. This gives a bit of a wider look at it. And then comparison by quarterly price, institution counts, and institutional shares. This is a bit more in depth. It's very valuable. Over the last several quarters, from Q3 of 2021 to Q3 of 2023, it looks at average price, average volume, institution counts, institutional shares. Really valuable information here. It looks at this gives volume, pricing, and investment information. Really helpful information over a long range of time in one table. This is a very valuable report, comparison by quarterly price, institution counts, and institutional shares. So that's one I really would like to emphasize. From here, I'll kind of go through each individual report briefly. You have the share activity count, which looks at how many institutions have increased, reduced, not changed their investment, recently bought, and then it looks at how many shares they bought or sold and the market value of that. From there, we have the top 10 hedge funds. These are the funds that own the hedge funds that have the most stock in Tesla. You can look at their shares over each quarter, going back to Q4 2021, how much that has increased. And this gives a good look at who's investing in Tesla and how much they're investing in, whether they're buying or selling. The top 10 institutions, similar to the hedge funds, but it does show invested in institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. So, and then latest insider transaction. This looks at who is buying and selling Tesla. You got a lot of people selling in this particular instance, but this is good to look at which individual investors are buying and selling Tesla. And then we have the latest mutual fund transaction. And that's very helpful to see how the stock is factoring in with each individual mutual fund. So basically, this report, it's got a lot of really valuable information on each stock. It lets you do a deep dive, and it's helpful for each stock. If you want to look at a stock and look at everything about it, whether it's price, who's investing in it, whether it's going up or down, whether people have confidence in it, this report is a very valuable tool for your investment and just to see if if any stock is a good investment for the future and a good fit for your portfolio. The next report I'm going to go through is the individual institution report. This looks at how major institutions like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase are investing, so you can observe their strategies and model their success. To access this report, click on the search function on top, then go to institutions, individual institutions, and then click on individual institution report. And then you can type in whichever institution you want to look at. For this example, I'm going to type in Renaissance Technologies, which is a major investing firm in it's like a major hedge fund in New York. So Renaissance Technologies, here we go. And once it loads, I will take you through the report. So the first thing you're going to see is this pie chart up here, which this shows how the institution plans its investment strategy and what sectors they invest in. When you click on the pie chart, it gives an in-depth breakdown of each sector, the percentage of the allocation for that sector and industry, as well as the dollar amount and how many stocks. So, for instance, Renaissance Technologies invests 18.24% of its portfolio in healthcare. That's over $11 billion and 720 stocks. And you can look at that for each industry just to get a look at how they're investing. And you can look at their strategy and see how it fits with your portfolio. From here, you can get a look, after that, you get a nice high-level overview of how they're investing and the top stocks that they're investing in. So I'll take you through the report left to right. So you see the stock that they're investing in, the sector that stock is in, and then from here you get some pricing information, the current price and how it compares with the 52-week high. Just gives you a sense of how that's trading right now. But just an FYI, as I'll explain a little bit later, these stocks are sorted by market value. But I'll get to that in a little bit. But then you have the possible growth of the stock calculated by comparing the current price and the 52-week high. From here, you've got the amount of shares that this institution invests from the current quarter and how that compares to the previous quarter, both in terms of the total share amount and as well as the percentage. So that's really useful because you get a sense of how the institution is investing. And that's helpful because you can compare it to the total the total amount of investment by the entire stock market and by every institution. So for instance, Novo Nordic AS, Renaissance Technologies has decreased their investment in this one, whereas the rest of the market has increased their investment in it. So that gives you a good look at how you can compare this individual institution with the rest of the stock market, and you can do that for each stock listed here. And then from there, you get a look at the total number of institutions investing in the stock and how that is increasing, and you can kind of compare that with Renaissance Technologies as well. Here we've got and then from here we've got the market value column, like I was saying before. That's how the data is sorted, highest market value to lowest market value. For the stocks that this institution invests in. Although if you do want to change your strategy or change how you look at the report, you're more than welcome to do so. You can just kind of click on one of the arrows up top. And then then there's a couple more columns I'll go through here. Approximate invested value. This looks at the average price in the latest quarter and multiplies that by the change in shares from this quarter to the previous quarter. So you would for this top stock here, you'd have the average price for this quarter and compare that with the change in shares from Q2 to Q3. And you can kind of see that breakdown a little bit in mathematical form when you go to that info button here. So just to give you kind of a sense of the approximate value comparing price versus the change in investment. Then from here you get year to date, the percent change, how the price has increased year to date, how the return has increased year to date, and then 1 year, 5 year, etc. And then percentage of allocation, how much that stock, the percentage of allocation that stock has in this institution's portfolio. So it gives you a sense of, not just the market value, but how much this institution invests in this particular stock. And then this last column is whether this stock is in the S&P 500. Renaissance Technologies, they've got a lot of stocks that they invest in. So there's lots and lots of pages that you can see, over 200 of them, just to get a really comprehensive look. But if you want to filter it down a little bit, you can use this filter to kind of pare down the data to only see what's most important to you. For instance, if you only wanted to see stocks above a certain price or that had a certain amount of institutional investment, you could kind of filter it by that, or you can filter by that. We offer that with any report. And if you only want to see some of the columns that we have, you can kind of uncheck some of these boxes and see and filter out the information that's not as useful for you, and just look at the information that is useful for you. We offer a lot of customization with this, but this individual institution report, it gives a great look at how a particular institution is investing, how it compares with the market, and it lets you model their success. And if there's one institution that has a strategy that you want to model, this gives you an in-depth look at how to do that, which stocks to invest in. And and as everything with Think Sabio, it helps you invest wisely and build a bright financial future. Hi, I'm Connor Finnerty. I'm Think Sabio's Chief Marketing Officer. I'm going to walk you through the different reports and valuable information that Think Sabio has to offer. First is going to be the Mark Minervini report. This is one of the most valuable reports that we have, has some really valuable information. To access it, click the search bar up here, and then scroll down to Mark Minervini strategy. So if you've ever struggled to find a good stock to invest in, then this report is going to be very helpful for you. It's named after Mark Minervini, who's one of the most successful investors in the United States over the last 30 years, and he has a track record of generating strong results and outperforming the market. This report outlines his specific criteria for investing in stock and shows you the stocks that meet those criteria, so you can model his success in the market. So all of this, before we get to the actual stocks and data, we have a brief type up of the criteria that he has. So first and foremost, he likes to have the current stock price trade above the 50-day moving average, which is the average closing price over the last 50 days, as well as higher than the 150-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. Some other criteria, he likes to have the 200-day moving average trending up for at least 1 month, 22 active trading days. He also likes to have the current stock price 25% above the 52-week low, so the stock price can rebound from any lows it's experienced over the past year, as well as within 25% of the 52-week high. So like the highest the stock has been in the past year. This makes it so the stock is resilient. It doesn't get too high, it doesn't get too low at the current moment, and so basically at its current point, it shows that its growth and success is sustainable. So basically, it's all about long-term investment. So those two show how the current price compares to historical trends. And also, one final important one is the relative strength index, measuring kind of the strength of the stock, forecast long term, whether people are buying or selling. It's measured on a 0 to 100 scale, and any stock to meet the Minervini criteria has to be at least a 70. So we'll go through some of the stocks that meet the criteria. First, so to click on meet criteria to see the stocks that do meet the criteria. We make it pretty straightforward. So we have the current price, and then we look at the 52-week high, and then this measures how far the current price is from the 52-week high. So we see very high performance. The current price is within the 52-week high. Then we have the 52-week low. With a lot of these stocks, you see the huge bump up from the 52-week low. And then we have the 50-day moving average, 150-day moving average, 200-day moving average, and then the RSI. So that shows, it basically just kind of lays all the information out in a very easy to understand fashion. And then you click on no longer meet criteria, and then it looks at, the stocks that maybe that don't meet the criteria, the current price, and then it compares the 52-week low, the RSI. So this is and you look at the Minervini report, and it measures, and the ones that meet the criteria, it's pretty extensive, like 20 pages or so. So it gives you lots of options for which stocks to pick and which ones to, finding the right stock to meet your portfolio and your investing goals. So that's the Mark Minervini report. It gives you an inside look at a hugely successful investor, how he chooses his stocks, and which stocks meet his criteria. This valuable information from Think Sabio helps simplify the stock market so you can invest wisely and build a bright financial future. Thanks so much, and happy investing. The daily trending stocks report is valuable for people getting high quality information on each day about which stocks are going and which are declining. You can access this report by clicking on the Reports tab here, and it'll be the first one that shows up. As you can see, once it loads, there are lots of ways to look at the data for based on what's trending each day. So as you can see right here, there are 5 pages, first and foremost. The first one is gainers. This shows the stocks that have the highest increase in price and return from the previous period, the previous day. And they're organized in terms of the highest return. So you see the current price, previous price, and then the return percentage. And also as a side note, any metric that's a positive and is an increase is going to be in green font. Anything that decreases is going to be in red font. So this shows you which stocks have had the highest increase. Decliners shows the stocks. This is by contrast. Again, it takes a little bit to load. That's just because there's a lot of data here. But decliners shows the stocks that have had the biggest decrease in return. So you have the current price and the previous price, and then the return percentage. So it shows. So you see the difference in price as well as the return in price. And there's lots of other useful information as well, such as which institutions are investing, the volume, the difference in volume, but the most important thing for this page is going to be the return percentage. So basically, see which stocks are growing and which ones are declining. So gainers shows the biggest gainers, decliners shows the ones with the biggest decrease. Also, you can a couple of filter notes. If you want, you can filter between stocks that are just on the Dow Jones, just on the NASDAQ, just on the S&P 500. You can customize it kind of for how you're looking at. And you can also filter which columns you would like to see just based on you can kind of click. You can filter by only ones in a specific industry, only ones with a specific price, only ones with a certain market cap, etc. That's how you can filter here. And then with column visibility, you can customize which columns you want to see and which ones you don't want to see. That makes it so you can only look at the information that's going to be most relevant to you. We want to make sure that's easy for you to share and understand. So we'll go into the next pages of data here. So the next one is going to be the high volume. Again, once this loads, this one is going to look at which stocks are trading at the highest volume. So you can see that with current volume, stored from highest to lowest. It also shows the previous volume, 90-day, 200-day average, etc. And then it shows the difference. So this helps you look at not just how something is trading, but how it compares to the previous period. And it also shows price and other relevant information. And one thing you can do, if for instance, a lot of these prices are pretty low. So one thing if you wanted to filter it, you could have it filtered so the minimum price is, let's say, $10. You could see it so that only stocks that are that high are in this report. It allows so you have a lot of customization there. And then we'll go into the 52-week high, which shows what this is, it shows the stocks that are trading at their highest price over the last 52 weeks. So basically the last year. You can see that here. So current price, the difference in price, the percentage of returns, the previous price. So yeah, so basically this is going to be the most important part of that, where you look at which stocks, have the highest price and the highest increase over the last 52 weeks or so. This is useful because it gives you some context for how much the price has increased over the previous periods. And 52-week low, it's kind of the contrast of that. Shows the stock that are having the biggest decrease over the last 52. Having the lowest price over the last 52 weeks or so. So basically, previous price, the current price. So basically, so this gives you a lot of useful information for looking at the stock market on a daily basis. I think it's a good tool for subscribers. Gives them a quick look at lots of different stocks over the course of lots of different stocks using lots of different metrics. They can filter and customize it. You can look at, biggest gainers, biggest decliners, volume. You can filter and customize it. So we want to give people lots of different ways to look at really useful and impactful stock market information on a daily basis. So I think this helps people invest wisely because based on the high volume of information. That's a big part of what Think Sabio does, is kind of giving people valuable information that helps them make informed, insightful stock market decisions. All right, so the next report we're going to look at, reports that we're going to look at are the weekly uptrend and downtrend report. They look at the stocks that are having that have experienced growth over the last set of weeks, particularly in terms of pricing. So we'll look at the weekly uptrend first. So with this report, shows the stocks that have experienced growth in price over the last set of weeks, which you can see here. You can choose the number of weeks that you want to look at with this drop-down arrow. Right now we have it on 4, but you can also select the different number of weeks just to filter down for a longer period of time. And up here, you can also filter by stocks that are in specific networks like the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. But yeah, from here, you look at the stock, you see the stocks that have experienced growth over the last set of weeks. It shows the previous weeks, the percent gain, and the current price right here. This should let you see the current price as well as that previous set, so you get a little bit of context. You also see the 52-week low and the 52-week high, so that shows the context for this current price and how it stacks up with the last year. Generally speaking, if the current price is close to the 52-week high, then it means that its current performance is stronger. But just that means it's maintaining a high level of performance. From here, we also, in addition to the pricing information, we also have valuable information on institutional investments. Just so you know, this information is sorted by the latest quarter of institutional investment, showing how many institutions are investing in the stock. Then it also has some valuable information on volume trading, how that's changed from the current quarter versus the previous quarter, as well as the rate of return on investment. And as with the other reports, you can filter and sort by certain values. Like, for instance, you could sort by the highest rate of return or the highest current price. And then you can also choose which columns you would like to see and which you would like to filter out, customize the data for what works for you. From here, we'll look at the weekly downtrend report. This format is pretty similar, but it's in reverse. It shows the stocks that have had a loss over the last set of weeks. So from here, you've got those set of weeks previous to this current week, the percent loss, and then the current price, and then you look at the 52-week low and the 52-week high. And I think what this does, it helps you see where the current price is, what's led up to this, and how it stacks up over the last year or so. So it's good to get that context. And then from here, you also get that institutional investment. This is also sorted by the latest quarter of institutional investment, and then the volume trading and other valuable information such as the percent year-to-date return, the 1-year percent, and the 5-year percent return. So and with this one, you can also filter by certain values, current price, maybe the 52-week low, whichever ones you want to see, and then you can also choose which columns that you want to include and which you want to avoid. So it's a similar format to both. It just one shows stocks that have grown and another shows stocks that have decreased. But these reports are valuable because it lets you see the short term and the long term and helps you make an effective investment in a stock based on how it's performed recently, as well as over the last several set of years, and as well as how institutions in the market are reacting to it. So I think it gives you a comprehensive look at what makes these what makes a stock valuable and helps you make really effective decisions. All right, so the next reports that we're going to look at are the daily uptrend and downtrend reports. These look at the stocks that have been trending up and down over the last couple of days. So you can see kind of which are performing better as of late. It also gives some long-term performance context. So to get to these reports, you're going to click on the search tab up top, then go to symbols, and then go up to daily uptrend or daily downtrend. There are reports on price and volume. So I'll take you through each one. So the first one we're going to look at is the daily price uptrend. This looks at stocks that have seen an increase in price over the last several days. So this has the symbol of the stock, the company, and what industry it's in, as well as the pricing information over the last several days, the percent gain, and the current price. And then as well as some longer term information such as the highs and lows, institutional investment, volume of trading, and then maybe some of the longer term returns over to the right here. What makes this report helpful is how you can filter it. You can filter for the stock market network that it's in up here, like similar reports. You can also filter by the number of days. So like right now it's showing the stocks that have seen an increase over the last 2 days, but you can change that to see how stocks have changed, which stocks have seen an uptrend in price over the last 5 days. It edits the table, so you see you can see the price information over the last 5 days, and it does that pretty easily, as you can see. Makes it a lot easier to navigate. And it also shows the current price, the 52-week high, the 52-week low, the institutional investment, et cetera. So, it keeps, when you filter for the number of days, it adds the additional days, but it keeps all the other information as well. So it gives you that immediate pricing information, but also gives you the longer term context. So you can kind of look at, how is this grow? How is the price increasing? On how is the long term performance? So that makes it easy. That gives you a good look at the short term and the long term, which is kind of what we're going for with this report. You can also filter by other statistics, such as the sector. Maybe you can filter by minimum price, the minimum number of institution investment, and you can select which columns that you want to see. So to make a customized look at the report. So from here we'll go to the daily price and volume uptrend. So you can go through this. And this has a similar format. It shows has the number of days, it shows the information, the pricing and volume information, but it shows them in the same cell. So you can kind of look at, here's the price. So for this Vanguard S&P 500, it shows the price and the volume over the last set of days, as well as the percent gain, and then it shows the current price, 52-week high, 52-week low, that other and the longer term investment. But the format of it is the same. You can filter by the number of days, like so, and it only shows up to 4 days. Because no stocks have had an uptrend in price and volume for more than 4 days. But you can still filter by the number of days, and you can still filter and sort by which columns you want to see. And from here, so it's a pretty basic look at it, but this helps you see not just pricing information, but how people are buying into a stock in terms of volume and the amount of trading. So from here, the format is pretty similar, though, and you would navigate it the same way. It just shows the price and the volume in the same report and in the same columns for these ones right here. So then we'll go to, I'll give you a quick look at price at the downtrend in price, because it's kind of similar to the price uptrend report, but in reverse. You filter it the same way with the number of days, but it shows which stocks have seen a decrease in price over the last 2 days. But with a similar format, you would filter it the same way. It would show the same information, and it gives you the short-term data right here with the price, and also the more long-term information, like the volume, like the institutional investment, the price, the volume, and the percent kind of Brent return over like year to date and 1-year percentage and 5-year percentage. And then lastly, kind of with a similar look, we've got the daily downtrend for price and volume. This is, again, like the daily uptrend for price and volume, but in reverse, shows those stocks that are seeing a decrease in price and volume over the last set of days. You filter right here for the number of days. You can filter and sort for column visibility to see, filter by value. You can sort by column visibility. But yeah, basically the point of these reports, you get a look at what stocks are trending upward, which stocks are trending downward, and you also get the longer term information. So this gives you a really comprehensive look at which stocks are a valuable investment in the short and long term. So the next reports that we'll be looking at are the sector reports. These look at how investment and performance vary among major business sectors. To basically just kind of looks at it like by industries and types of business. So to get to these reports, let's scroll down to the sector section, and then you can go to the 4 reports here. First one we're going to look at is the trending report. This looks at kind of how performance varies by sector and compares it to the overall S&P 500. So the first thing you see is the select time frame button. You kind of looks at how you can look at the time frame of the data. So whichever time period you want to look at, and you can customize the data for that. We'll look at 6 months just to get kind of a wider view. So right up here, you see S&P 500. You see the growth there. and then how that and then you look at how that compares by sector. You have like technology, communication services, financial services. They're all like these ones are growing faster than the stock market as a whole, but then you have ones like basic materials, real estate, and healthcare that are growing slower than the stock market, and then you have ones like energy, consumer defensive, and utilities that are seeing decreases. So that helps you look at how each sector is performing relative to the market as a whole. So that's this table to the left. And then for this table to the right, it looks at different stocks in a particular sector, looks at that sector's growth as a whole, and as well as which stocks are seeing the highest percent change, percent return. So right now it's showing technology. But if you wanted to switch to maybe communication services, you can click on this one to the left, and then it'll change, and then it'll show the different top performing stocks from that sector, so that way you can make it customized based on what you're looking for. And then if you want to filter by date, you can do it here, so maybe you don't have to do just based on that one, just based on the time frames up top. And if you want to go to sort, you can sort by different stocks, different sectors, the percent change, price difference. So give you some customization to look at. So next we're going to look at all institutions. This looks at how different institutions are investing in particular sectors, which sectors are seeing the most institutional investment. For this example, we'll look at basic materials. So this report kind of looks at the major institutional investments and sees which stocks of a particular sector are seeing the most institutional investment. So they're sorted from most institutional investment in the latest quarter to the least institutional investment. So you get to look at the stock, the company, the symbol, the institutional investment, the hedge fund investment, as well as more general information like overall volume, hedge fund volume, and then return, percent return year to date, 1 year, and 5 years. So it gives you a lot of comprehensive information. And as with always, you can kind of filter based on specific values, and you can sort based on, maybe you can sort on a particular value. Like if you wanted to see which one had the highest current price or had the highest volume, you could do it that. So you can kind of customize the view that way. Next, we will look at top 10 hedge funds. This is similar to the previous report, but instead of institutional investment, it just shows hedge funds. So it's, I chose the communication service sector, but then it looks at the highest hedge fund investment. And then it shows, so basically sorted from most hedge fund investments among the top 10 to least hedge fund investment. And then it shows volume for the current quarter, the previous quarter, how that's changed, the total hedge fund volume, and then you have year to date for percent return, 1 year percent return, and 5 year percent return. So kind of a similar format to the institution one, but just for hedge funds. And then last, but most definitely not least, we have allocations. This looks at allocations by sector, I should say. This looks at how institutions in the stock market among major investments among major institutions in the stock market, how it varies by sector and how that compares over time. So the first thing you see is this pie chart, this nice colored pie chart. So this is for the latest quarter, and it gives a visual representation of which sectors are seeing the most institutional investment. Technology is seeing the most investment right here. Then you have utilities with, a smaller slice of the pie. And then it kind of lets you see which ones are seeing the most institutional investment for the latest quarter. But then you have this table here, and this shows how that investment varies by quarter. It shows the previous 8 quarters, so about the previous 2 years. And then you kind of look at for how that compares over time, what's growing, what's declining, what's staying the same. So it gives you a good broad view of it. And then as always, you can kind of, with the filter and sort, you can kind of filter for which sectors you would like to include or exclude. So maybe you want to have just look at one particular sector or just a set of them. And with the sort, you can sort the data by category, by sector, by like which industry you'd like to look at, or maybe you'd like to sort by most to least allocation in the latest quarter. It lets you customize the view of it. So these reports let you see how institutions are investing by business sector and industry. So if you're looking to invest in a particular industry, and maybe you want to see which stocks within that industry fit your portfolio needs, this could be really helpful for you. Again, this is another report that helps you see how institutions are investing so you can model their success. The next report that we're going to look at is the under dollar report. This report looks at the stocks that are trading under $1 with results tracked over the last 5 trading days. You can access this report by clicking on the reports tab. And once it loads, we can navigate to where the report is. So we'll go into the daily tab here and then down to ad hoc, and then it's going to be under $1. So that's the path to get there from the reports tab. So from here, once you can look at the stocks that are trading under $1 on a given day over the last 5 trading days. You can select which date you want to look at, but the default is go to the current day. So once you get in, and so makes it easy, customizable for you. Once you get into the data itself, you get to see the pricing information laid out pretty clearly. So it starts with the stock market symbol. And then you have the company name and then what industry sector that they work in. So that stuff, just so you can clearly see what you're looking at. From there, you have the year begin price, so the price at the beginning of the year, and then you see the current price, so you get to see how it's changed over the current year. And a lot of the time, it's been a steep decrease, which is why it's trading under $1. So then you can see that based on the price change year to date and then the year to date percent change. So you get the dollar amount and then the percentage makes it easy to compare and get a look at how it's increased or decreased over the past year to date. So that gives you all that pricing information. From there, you get a look at institutional investment. You see how many institutions are investing in a stock and how many shares they own. And then from here, you get the same for hedge funds. How many of the top 10 hedge funds are investing in a stock and how many shares that they own. These last 2 columns I'll wanted to get into a little bit. The Hedge Hero shares. These are in reference to Renaissance Technologies. It's a major firm in investment. The firm and their founder, James Simons, are highly regarded for models for stock picking that have helped the firm achieve a track record of success since it was founded in 1982. So Renaissance Technologies, they're great at predicting stocks and having a specific model for choosing which stocks they invest in. So this column here shows how many stocks Renaissance Technology owns. And if it's a dash, that means they don't own any. And then this column shows how that status has changed. So newly bought would mean that they invested in this stock for the first time. Sold off means that they owned stock previously but sold it off. Reduced would mean that they owned stock, but it's less than they owned before. Increased would mean that they bought stock but bought more of it, and no change means they kept the same amount. So, buying stock means it's green font, selling stock means it's red font, and no change is just the standard white font. So these 2 columns help you see how a highly regarded investment firm makes its decisions. So if you want to look at which dollar and under stocks might be a good investment, you could go here. So if you want to maybe take a flyer on something, this could help you decide that. And in general, this report gives you a good look at what stocks are trading under $1, how they've changed over the past year or so, and it gives you a clear look at how these stocks are trading so you can make an informed decision and invest wisely. The next reports we'll be looking at are the moving averages report. These reports track the performance of a stock over different periods of time so you can measure its growth. So to access this report, the first thing you'll go to the symbols tab, then go down to moving averages. So one of the things you do for this one is we type in a specific stock symbol so you can look at their performance. So for this example, we'll look at Nike. NKE is the symbol for that. So we'll let this go through and I'll walk you through the report itself. So you see the company here, the sector that they're in, and then it has the current price of the stock as well as some institutional investment information, hedge funds, and that kind of stuff. Then from here it shows the day moving average. So that's the the average closing price over a certain period of time that's measured. So, for instance, the 5-day moving average is going to be the average closing price of the last 5 days. So, so you have the day moving average columns here. So, for instance, you have the current price, and then you have the 5-day moving average, which measures the closing price over the last 5 days. And then this column measures the percent change. So this compares the current price versus the 5-day moving average. And if it's in green, that means the current price is higher, so the stock has achieved some growth. And then you see the 10-day moving average. It's a little low. It's a little lower than the 5-day moving average, so the growth is going to be higher. And then 20-day moving average, it's lower than the 10-day moving average. So there's been some growth. So the percent change is going to be higher. So what you see with this stock with Nike is there's been pretty consistent growth over the last 100 days or so, from 100 days to the current price. So that shows some strong recent performance. So this report helps you look at the current price and see how that has trended over the last recent period. And then you have the 200-day moving average, and then you see year to date, 1 year percent, 5 year percent. So you can compare that recent performance with the longer term returns. So overall, Nike has some strong long-term returns as well as some good recent performance. So then one thing you can do is compare. You can type in two different stocks to look at kind of if you wanted to compare two different stocks in maybe perhaps in the same industry. So for instance, I'll look at one of Nike's competitors, Under Armour. Maybe you wanted to invest in something that was in the sporting goods industry, just to see if you thought that was a good investment and wanted to look at two top companies. So then you see them compared right next to each other. So you have the current price, institutional investment. Obviously, Nike's has a lot higher price, and then you have the day moving averages right next to each other. So for instance, if with Under Armour, you start to have, so for the 5-day and the 10-day moving average, the percent change is lower for Under Armour than it is for Nike. But for the 20-day moving average, Under Armour's percent change is higher. So Under Armour has seen some growth over the last 20 days, 50 days, 100 days, more so than Nike. But then you look at this year to date, 1 year percent, 5 year percent return, kind of measuring the current price versus the 1 year, 1 year ago or 5 years ago. It's clear that Nike's long-term performance is a lot better. So this helps you get the short term and the long term. So if you want to get to a side-by-side comparison. So looks like Nike, it's a lot more expensive, but it looks like its long-term performance is a lot better. So that's something to factor in. And one last thing you can do with this report. So if you wanted to clear all of these, so maybe you just wanted to look at all of the stocks as a whole, you could do that and just you wouldn't necessarily have to pick a couple of stocks that you wanted to look at. So you could get to see certain stocks that you wanted to look at over that entire performance. You can look at the entire market here. You can just to get a look at each stock that we have in our database. You have all the same information. But if you wanted to, let's say, search for a specific stock, let's say Tesla, just hypothetically speaking, then you could search for that specific stock, and then you would see filter, you'd have all the same information, the current price, the day moving averages, the percent return, et cetera, et cetera. So really strong stuff from Tesla here. And then you could just hit the X button if you wanted to look at all the individual stocks again. And then with here, you can filter based on specific data values. Like let's say you only wanted to look at stocks above or below a certain price, or maybe ones that had only stocks that had a certain day moving average. You could do that. And if you wanted to pick and choose which columns you wanted to see, only choose the columns that are most relevant to you, you can uncheck the boxes here. So this day moving average is helpful because it helps you see the current price as well as recent performance over the last, 1 to 200 days, as well as long-term performance. It gives you a good comprehensive overview of a stock's performance over the course of a day and helps you pick and choose which stocks you want to look at so you can compare and contrast. This is really helpful, and it does help you give you context for how a stock is performing in the short and the long term against its competitors. The next report that we're going to look at is institution sector allocation, which looks at how major institutions are investing in the stock market. So to access this report, go to search and then go to institutions and then institutional sector allocation report. So basically, this looks at how major institutions like Bank of America, Charles Schwab, etc., are like allocating their stock market investment across different sectors and industries. So let's go into the report itself. So here you see on the leftmost column, you have the institutions laid out in different rows, and then the different data sets are correlated with that. So the data is laid out in terms of most total stocks. But as I'll get into a bit later, you can sort the data however you like, but the default is to have it sorted based on most total stocks, and then it goes into like the approximate investment amount. So this is the number of total shares they have invested in the market, and this is the amount of money that they have invested in the market. And then we go into each sector. The first one we see is healthcare, and then from there it's listed in terms of alphabetical order. So I'll kind of take you through. So we've got healthcare, basic materials, communication services, consumer cyclical, consumer defensive, and then all the way down to technology and utilities. So basically, so what this allows you to see is just how each individual institution is allocating its total stock market spend. So basically looking at across each industry, how many stocks are they buying, how much money does that represent, and how does it represent in their overall portfolio. So let's look at, for example, Wells Fargo. They have and we'll just as an example, we'll look at basic materials. So they've invested of their more than 6,700 stocks that they've invested in the market. They've had invested 222 of those are in the basic materials sector. That amounts to about 6.53 billion, which is a shade under 2% of their total allocation. So what you can do with this is like maybe there's a specific institution that you want to look at, such as Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Charles Schwab, and you can kind of see how are they allocating their stock market investment and how can you model off of that strategy. So it shows that data set for each sector for each of the institutions listed. So you see, if you want to look at maybe Morgan Stanley and you want to see how they're investing in maybe financial services, you can scroll right here. So aside from healthcare, all the sectors are listed in alphabetical order, and the institutions are listed in order of the most stocks invested. So there's a couple other data points that you can look at just to customize the data. It shows the most recent quarter, but you can scroll down and choose each of the last 10 quarters, just if you want to maybe compare this quarter to the previous one. You can also kind of filter and sort based on the information that you're looking for. For instance, if you wanted to look at a particular institution, maybe like Charles Schwab or Wells Fargo, you could just focus on that. You could also filter based on specific sectors and how much of a percentage. Maybe you wanted to only see institutions that were investing at least 5% in basic materials. You would just click on basic materials and then click on 5% and then type in 5% as the minimum allocated. And so that's just one way you can customize this large volume data set to fit what you're looking for. And then from sort, you can look at maybe if you want to change how the data was sorted, you could look at if you didn't want to sort it by total stocks, you wanted to sort it by approximate investment value, you could hit submit, and then it would sort the data that way. So it's customizable for what you're looking for. And then last but not least, with a lot of as with our other columns reports that have columns and the information, you can pick and choose which ones you want to look at. So maybe you only wanted to look at a set of sectors rather than all of them because you wanted to focus on specific ones. Like let's say you wanted to focus on energy, industrials, and real estate. You could just click on those and uncheck all the other boxes, customize the view based on what you're looking at. So we give you like a raw data set that has a lot of useful information, and you can customize that to what's going to be most useful for you. So you can filter down what institutions you want to look at, what sectors you want to look at, what's going to be the most helpful for you. It's a tool that we give you to help you invest wisely and go based on what's going to be best for your portfolio. So the main thing, if you want to see how institutions are investing and what sectors they're investing in, this is a great tool for you. Going to look at involve transactions from SEC insiders. These helps you look at transactions among major industry players, see what stocks they're buying and selling. So with this, you can get a look at what the big time investors are doing and use that to help with your investment strategy. So we'll look at this one first, latest insider transactions. This looks at daily transactions for the last several trading days, last 5 trading days. You can see, so with this one, it gives you a look at who the insider was, what who did the buying, what company they bought, what stock they bought, what sector they bought it in, and then the date information on the transaction. This column shows how much they bought or sold, and then the percent change relative to what they owned previously. So if it's in green font, then they bought, and if it's red font, then they sold. So the green is an increase, red is a decrease. And then from here, you get a look at the transaction price, the total market value, the value of the transaction, and then over here you have some other information on current price and whether they're a 10% owner in a stock, so whether they're like one of the largest owners of the stock. So this gives you a look at specific information with insider transactions that happened within the last several days. Then with here, you can filter the data based on specific values, like maybe a name of an insider or a specific symbol, if they're a 10% owner. And then with this column visibility, you can select which columns you want to see. And then with this search function, you can search specific symbols or insiders to filter it down. Then next, we'll look at buy symbol. This looks at overall transactions among certain stocks. This report shows you the stock symbol, the column on the left here, the sector that they're in, the number of insiders owning a stock, the buyers and sellers, as well as institutional investment and hedge fund investment. So you see this is pretty straightforward. You see all the information in one table here. If you want, you can search a specific symbol for a stock to see the insider transaction. So like if you look up Tesla, you see they have 41 SEC insiders, none of them bought, all of them sold. And then you have the latest institutional investment and hedge fund investment. So this one's good for like overall top-down data. And it's also helpful if you have a specific stock symbol that you're looking for. So maybe you don't want to necessarily search through the entire thing. You can just type the symbol in here and you'll find it. And as well, and also if you want to look at the table, more in a more filtered way, you can do it by maybe sector, maybe by by institution count, maybe by date. So yeah, it lets you filter. So right now, the data is by the past year, but if you want to filter it down for maybe a more narrow period of time, you can do that. And you can also change which columns you want to see based on what's going to work best for you. And last, but most definitely not least, we've got all insider transactions report. This is kind of similar to the first report, but it tracks all the transactions from the previous year. So it's kind of it's very in-depth, but it's also wide-based. So it shows all the insider transactions for each stock, for each insider over the past year. So it kind of has a similar layout. It shows the symbol of the stock, the insider that bought it, the company name, the sector that they work in, and then date of the transaction, how many shares were bought or sold. And then over here, you've got more general information on the value of the transaction, the current price relative to the to current price. You compare that with the transaction price, and then you have like the insider title and if they're a 10% owner. One thing with this one, that's interesting, you can search based on specific stocks or symbols. So let's say you wanted to, again, we'll use Tesla as an example. You wanted to maybe just look at insider transactions among Tesla over the last year. You can see that. So it does help you filter it down a little bit if you're looking for one particular stock. We'll have Nike as another example. It does take a lot of time to sort through these transactions just because the search function has to go through. But you do see it once the search goes through. You see the insider doing the transaction, when it happened, how many shares they bought or sold. So this helps you look at, like, if you want to get a longer term look at, maybe you want to look at a specific stock and see over the past year, did an insider buy, did they sell, and kind of get a look at for how major investors overall are looking at a stock. This is a very valuable resource for that. So a big value of Think Sabio is helping you see how the major investors are investing and help you model their strategies and success. And the SEC insider reports